It's taken me over 60 years to come here, but I'm here now, and that's good. I don't know if any of you know anything about me. I do a television program in the UK called Gardeners World. I do lots of other television programs. I'm making one at the moment about Islamic gardens, which means travelling around all the gardens of the Middle East and the Mughal gardens in Kashmir and India and wherever I can get to. Unfortunately, a lot of them are in war zones, so that makes life awful. But I'm always looking at new gardens, looking at how people garden. I'm as interested in gardeners as I am in gardens. And I am actually more interested in gardens than I am plants, which is not to say that I'm not interested in plants, but I am not a plantsman. I'm not somebody who loves a plant just on its own. I like plants in context. I like what people do with plants. I like the way what nature does with plants and how it puts them together and relates them, and the creative side of it. And that I find endlessly fascinating. But in the end, I'm a gardener. I garden. I use my hands. That's what I do. So although I spend a lot of time filming, a lot of time writing, I'm writing 3 books concurrently at the moment, which is not a good idea. I don't recommend it to anybody. But the one thing that I always do when I have free time is garden. And people always ask me what I do, what my hobby is. Well, I'm sorry to bore you, but it's gardening. That's what I do. So I'm always interested to meet new gardeners, new ideas, new places, and to share ideas. So I come here more in a spirit of being a sponge, taking things in, rather than to preach from a mountain on high. I come here in all humility just to listen as much as anything. But if you've got any questions, far away, far away. Anybody have any questions for me? Well, that's good.
Can you tell us about the work behind Gardeners World?
Well, Gardeners World has been going for 50 years. It's our 50th anniversary this year. There's a long tradition, and it has always been filmed, with the exception of a 2-year gap, in private gardening. There have been very few Gardeners World presenters. There's 1, 2, 3. I'm only the 4th in 50 years. So the tradition of filming in a garden where you follow all the processes throughout the year. We start in February and we end at the end of October. And it's my own garden at home, which I started to make 26 years ago. So it is a real garden and there's real life. And it's a big operation. We have a team based in Bristol, and we have one team that does nothing but make films, and we make something like 150 films a year, each one about 7 minutes long. Each one takes roughly a week to make, because by the time you've recorded it, prepared it, travelled there, filmed it, and then edited it, it's about 5 days' work to do one 7-minute film. And then in my garden, we have 2 other teams who work on a fortnightly basis, so that they leapfrog each other throughout the year. And we're thinking of moving that to 3 teams, because even that's quite tough. And we film 2 days a week, although this week, because I'm going to be away next week, we film 3 days. But we do, our program, my content is about 35 minutes a week. So we do that in 2 days, which, if any of you know about television, is a lot of television in 2 days. When I started in television in 1988, we used to make 2 minutes a day. I now do about 17 to 18 minutes a day. So it's almost 10 times as much. And we have no more time, and it feels like we have a lot less money. So television has changed a lot. But still, we have a team of 9 people that come, and we have 3 cameras, and we have sound recorders, and we have a producer, and we have a director, and we have an assistant producer, and we have runners. And we just systematically work through from They arrive at 7:30 in the morning, we stop at 6 in the evening, and we have a break for a cup of coffee about 11 o'clock, we break for lunch, and we have a cup of tea as we work in the afternoon, and it takes all that time to work through. And what we try and capture is obviously the work that's going on in the garden. We do 3 big jobs each week and 3 smaller ones. But also, it's much more than that. We were talking about this having a cup of coffee just now. It's much more a spirit, a feeling, a sense of life as it is lived that day, of the weather, of the mood even. If you're happy or sad or excited, we try and share that. Of the way that the relationship between the gardener and the garden is one of empathy as well as of tending and care. It's a two-way process. So we try and film all that rather abstract notion. And increasingly, we are doing more and more wildlife. So, for example, I keep bees. I have a farm as well, so I also keep sheep and cattle. But we've included pigs and sheep and chickens in the program. But we increasingly are dealing with how to encourage wildlife into our gardens, and also, very importantly, how to encourage the public to look after wildlife, to value it in their gardens. So that's really what we do. And then we finish, and on Thursday night we finished the program. Friday morning I had a telephone meeting about the next program. And so it goes, on and on and on. And then in the beginning of November I breathe a huge sigh of relief and forget about it for about 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and then in the middle of January we start all over again preparing for filming in February. That's it. Yes?
I would like to know how you kept your passion about this all over the years.
Well, I love it. It makes me happy. It does more than make me happy, it makes me sane. I have often written about it. I suffer often from depression. And I find that gardening is the one thing that consistently relieves that, heals it. So I need the soil. I need to work in the garden. But also, I'm often not, so that it makes me happy. And, you know, why would you not? It's like saying to a hungry man, why do you want to eat? I'm hungry for gardens.
But do you have any advice for young gardeners, for example, in Sweden? Let's say how to keep...
Well, yes. What I would say is it's very difficult for young gardeners, because my experience is there are stages. I think it's really important to get young children interested. And by young, I mean from the age of 2, 3, up to about 10. And that's an open door. They love it. They grow things, you teach them to cook things, to eat, to share, to observe, see frogs, see the seeds growing, put a seed in the soil, see it appear. That's wonderful. Then when they reach about 11, they don't want to do it. It's kid stuff. And my feeling is leave them, let them. Let those hormones rage, you know? Let them get on with boys and girls, which is much more interesting, until they are about, well, whenever they're ready. I mean, my experience is somebody who is really, really interested will always be interested. But don't force it. It might take them till they're in their late 20s. My children are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they're beginning to get interested. And the major problem we have in the UK is access to a garden. Because if you are somewhere between 25 and 35, increasingly, you're not going to have a house. You're probably living with your parents or with friends in a shared house. You have no garden. So number one, try and provide access. Community gardens, allotments, shared spaces, or whatever. And two, don't try and be a gardener. Grow what you like. If it's edible, grow what you like to eat. It could all just be sunflowers. It could just be mint. It doesn't matter. Grow what you like. And also try. Fail. Encourage people to fail. In fact, I would say that's the biggest lesson of all. Encourage and celebrate failure, because that's the only way you learn. if you learn that failure is not a disaster, then success usually follows that. And then gradually it grows. But I don't think we should worry too much about young people not gardening. We should worry about young people not having the opportunity to garden. You could take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Let it happen. There's time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you have the same trend, or are you also inspired by the growing desire to grow something to eat?
Well, I grow an awful lot of vegetables and fruit, and I find, you know, in the end, it's driven as much by the kitchen and the plate as it is by the soil and the garden. My wife is a very good cook, and she's a very good gardener too. So we always regard everything edible that we grow in terms of food rather than as just the plants. So I tend not to want to grow new and exotic things for the sake of it. What we try and do is grow things well. So better to grow a simple potato that is really good, or a simple tomato that is, rather than one that has never been grown before or only grows under certain conditions. I don't really see the point of that if you love food. You know, but then I don't like food that is ridiculously over fussy. I like good, plain, really good ingredients. And I think it's the same in your brain.
So I find it very inspiring that the world is exploding now, you know, some companies and blogs and vlogs and everything, because it gives me so much back. I get much more inspired myself. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I don't have time.
You don't have time.
I don't have time. I'm always willing to learn, but I don't hunt it out because I don't know how people have time. I seem to always not have time to do what I have to do.
I can understand that because of filming schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
But where do you get your inspiration from then?
It seems to be short. Nature, my wife. We garden together, and always have done. And we are constantly disagreeing, which is a very good thing because we're always challenging, talking, weighing up, but we always agree in principle. We always end up agreeing. But the process is one of constant discussion. I travel a great deal. I think last night's flight was the 52nd I've done this year already. So I go all over the world. I see lots of things. I meet lots of people. I go to all the flower shows. I say I don't have time to read. I do read all the time, but I tend to read books and not blogs or the rest of it. As yet, I've never had any shortfall of inspiration. I don't know, it comes from where it is. It's that famous thing, is someone said, where are we going to get the money from to do this? And I said, well, from where it is now. And that's how I feel about inspiration.
But you must miss your garden when you travel all over.
I do. I miss my garden a lot. It's one of the great ironies, you know, when I'm away. When you're traveling somewhere really interesting, I don't, because you're completely consumed with what you're doing. But for example, when I do Chelsea Flower Show, which I'm there for 8 days, people say, how fantastic to be at Chelsea for 8 days. It's not. It's fantastic to be there for 8 hours. After 8 hours, I just want to be at home. And after that, it's work. And I just want to be at home at the most beautiful time of year. I'm stuck in a bloody flower show. And so there's a lot of that goes on. And I do Chelsea, I do Hampton Court, I do Malvern, I do about 6 flower shows a year. So yeah, I want to go home and I want to tend my garden. But I'm very lucky that I film in my garden. So every week, I go to work by opening the door. So that's pretty good.
Do you have any help in your own garden?
Yeah, I do. I have. have 2 full-time people, and in fact in summer I have 2 full-time and 1 part-time, and in winter they all have 5 weeks holiday, because December in my garden is a total washout. We hardly garden at all in December.
Well, we're in Sweden now, so we understand.
So yeah, because for 2 reasons. I have one, and it's actually contractual. I have to, BBC gives me some money and says, with that money you have to have the garden prepared, and you have to have at least the equivalent of 2 full-time people. Because I'm away half the time, and the whole garden has to be ready for filming all the time. So it's like being on show all the time. So every little bit has to be looked after. And in fact, the 2 guys and Sarah and myself, we work flat out to do that. So yeah, it's very unreal. It's a very sort of hyper sort of prepared state. It's which is why when we stop filming, the temptation just say, oh great, just grow, just do your thing, we don't care, you know, just let it happen. But then you see we're really busy because we have to put the garden to bed for winter, and get it all sorted out by December, and then at the beginning of January we start all over again. So yeah, need help.
When we come to a garden show, how would you plan your visit? Where would you start?
God, that makes me sound much more organised than I am. I tend to go look at show gardens first, because I want to see, and what I do have a technique. First thing I do is go to the show gardens and I just quickly look at them. I don't look at detail. I might spend 5 minutes on each one, just take them in, and I look at them all. Because I want to get a feel of what the zeitgeist is. I want to get a feel of what repeated plants are, what trends, that sort of thing. And I deliberately don't want to know the backstory. I don't want to know that this is a garden about 30 years of marriage and the death of my father and people starving in Somalia and all the rest of it. You know, I just want us to look at it. Then I might go and look at plant stalls, again, to see what plants are coming through. And there's always, every year, there are always some that come through. So there are trends. Then I go back to the beginning, and usually not the whole lot in one go, but bit by bit, start to look in detail. And what's then, by the second time round, if you're bored with something the second time round, it's no good. Usually, the good gardens, the more you see them, the more you get from them. So you start to ask questions, you start to take pictures, you have a look, and you build up a sense of good. And then you ask yourself, why is it good? Why do I like this? Why do I not like that? Why is that boring? It's worthy but boring. Why is that exciting? You know what's going on. And you have to answer those questions. And that's the same with plant stalls or whatever. And very often something small will be much more interesting than a big thing that's got a lot of money. Or part of a garden is really interesting, but the rest is rubbish. It's not rubbish, but it's not interesting. And so, it's, you know, and you're building up a portfolio of ideas. And that's it really. And when I'm in something like Chelsea or Hampton Court where I'm for a week, I go back and keep looking at these things. And as I say, sometimes on day 3 or 4, I see new things. And that's always a sign of a good garden. Good work.
Do you have a favourite garden designer?
No.
No?
I mean, I have favourites. I deeply respect and admire the work of Fernando Carancho, Jack Burtz, Tom Stewart Smith, Arnie Maynard, Cleve West, Andy Sturgeon. Yeah, I don't sort of particularly think of people as rock stars whose work. I just like the work, and then find out who did it afterwards.
One last question.
Me? Yeah. I would like to return to the inspiration thing. I run a Swedish garden blog, and I think it's very important nowadays that we see like ordinary gardens, like Fredrika's garden, Annette's garden, that I check out in blogs, for example. You know, meeting people in their own gardens, like usual, ordinary, good gardens. You are talking now about those garden festival things. Are you inspired by like ordinary gardens, growing vegetables, for example?
Yes, always.
Yeah.
I love seeing people in their own garden. In fact, a garden festival or a flower show, everybody is on their best behaviour, putting their best front forward. It's artificial, it's fun, and it's informative, and it's rewarding, and it's a great place to get people all together. But when you go to people's homes, gardens are fundamentally domestic. And when you enter someone's private garden, you're invited as a guest, you're entering a domestic space, and therefore you are entering into people's lives. And as I said, I'm as interested in gardeners as I am in gardens, and I'm more interested in gardeners and gardens than I am in individual plants. And so that's always, that's humanity, that's life. In terms of horticulture, I'm always curious, how have you done that? Why have you done that? What variety is that? What time did you plant that? Did you raise it from seed? Did you sow, what month did you sow the seed? What spacing do you do? Detail, technical side, because that's my life. And so that if someone says, for example, I was visiting a garden the other day, and I had a lot of trouble with a plant called Magus, which was being eaten by rabbits. Lovely umbellifera, beautiful plant, and we were having a lot of rabbit problems. And with Ami, you really need to sow it in August, September, and then plant it. Normally we plant it out in March or April, and it flowers May, June, July. And this guy said, no. He always sows his August, and then plants it in October. And then because it's a member of the carrot family, the taproot gets nice and deep. And then the rabbits tend not to eat it so much, and it flowers much better, because it's stronger. Well, that's worth the trip alone. That's gold. So now, I've sown mine. We shall plant them, instead of planting them out in March, April, we'll plant them out in October. What he says is he keeps about a quarter back in case there's a really hard winter, and so he's got some backup stock. That's the sort of stuff I like. So, and you only get that from visiting people's gardens. You get that. You know, what time, again, things like today we were talking about box plate. I went to someone else's garden in August, a very nice garden, and all the box was really shaggy and uncut. And they said, no, we've learned that if we cut it in September, the blight spores don't proliferate so much because it's cooler. And because we cut it in September, the regrowth doesn't begin until the following spring. So there is no blight about. So by the time the blight spores get active, which is about July, the regrowth has hardened off. Whereas when we cut in May or June, when the blight spores are coming, you've got fresh young growth and open wounds. It makes sense, but I had to learn that from visiting someone in their garden and asking why it looks so untidy. And I learned something. So that's why.
That's a very good advice.
Yes.
Could you say any of your box?
Yeah, what we've got, we've saved all the thick leaf box, which tends to be cutting from one variety called Hansworthiensis. There is a Japanese box that people say is pretty good, and a fastidio box. There's an Irish garden called Helen Dillon. I don't know if you know her. She came to visit me on Thursday this week, and she was saying how that she's got a fastidio box that seems to be improved. I have some box that seems to be unaffected, which I can't work out why, but thank heavens for that. I also moved about 500 plants to our farm, which is in the Black Mountains in Wales, at 1,500 feet, and on an open, windy hillside, and we've quarantined them there for a year, and they're showing no signs of blight. So they have lots of wind, they haven't been cut, they've been in quarantine. I won't bring them back to the garden, but I'm making another garden there, so I'll use them. So I've salvaged yeah, about 1,000 plants, but we'd ripped out half our box. And I was really interested today, so again, coming here today, to see the yew hedging that tall. I have never seen that before. I've seen it. Well, I've got a yew hedge maybe 2-3 feet tall, but to have it just like that, I didn't think you could keep yew that big. So yeah, you learn. You always learn. It's great.
Thank you. Now we're going to go outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good.
Hi.
Hello.
You, first one out, then?
No, first everybody's photo session.
Okay. And then I grab you.
Okay.
Okay. And we go out there. But I stay by your side. It's great advice, by the way.
Jag sätter igång och filmar.
Det kan du, ja men gör så. Gör så. Så ska jag bara få på den här också. Kan du kolla ljudet?
Ja, jag hör det jättebra.
Strålande. Nu ska vi se så att det blir... My children
How did you find that camera? Very good.
It's good. We've used it for various bits and pieces, but we find that it needs to be on a tripod, really.
Yeah, definitely. For all the filming activities, you need to be on a tripod, for sure.
This. My children played with my phone, so
So
well,
that's, now what do you use that for?
I use it for live streaming on YouTube. So I hope this is okay with you.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
All right.
because I like you. I mean, we have very much younger audience, much more younger than anyone else.
Yeah.
So for me, it's so important, and for us that works with OdlingsTV.
You see, the difference is that I have no knowledge of or real sort of experience at all during television. So I've never really done anything on YouTube or the internet or anything like that.
But you should.
Well, yeah, I have to. I have no idea how
You
to
have
do
to.
it.
I can. Maybe I can learn you. No.
It's,
I'm just curious about everything, and
Right.
that's how I learn.
so
it's-
we don't.
Just place this one.
There's a whole world of internet sort of internet stuff which I don't know about.
Yeah, and actually I had to admit, me too. But when you're curious, you learn, I guess.
Yeah,
or-
I guess what it is that I.
Vad sitter med din mikrofon? Den är lite... Jag hör inte det lika bra. Ja, det är där.
Därför. Hörs det bra nu?
Ja, det är
Ja.
jättebra.
Rullar vi?
Vi rullar, ja.
Perfect. And I guess, like normal, we need to
Yeah.
tighten up a
Want me
bit.
to come in?
Okay,
Okay, fine.
I think I like this. I had to admit, normally when I meet people for the first time, I try to not ask so many questions before, because I want it to be authentic, and I want it to be like the first time, of course. And but now it's a bit tricky, since you're my garden guru, and I haven't seen all of your programs, of course, but quite a few. But I try to ask questions that I know that our OdlingsTV public like to ask.
Okay.
And these are also actually questions from my children that they sent with me, and since I think it's important to let them continue to be curious, I think I have them here as well.
Okay.
Very big
All right.
questions. Så, först bara en snabb på. Vi är live på YouTube här. OdlingsTV är första faktiskt exklusiva media att få träffa Monty Don här på Sofiero. Och jag hoppas att ni hänger kvar trots min inte jättenaturligt jättebra engelska. Swedish is my native language, but we switch to English now. I try to do my best. Okay. Lite så. Because I need you to be in focus, of course.
Right.
Okay, now we're here at the Sofiero garden. What were your first impressions here?
Well, having never set foot in Sweden before,
This is the first
very
time.
first time, my first day in Sweden,
Wow.
So I genuinely didn't quite know what to expect. And I'm impressed by the range of plants. You know, I suppose I'd expected things to be a little bit more limited or extreme. And it's very beautiful. It's very beautiful here, and there's lots of interesting things being grown. And I like the idea of the public coming in and sharing, and I like the land art around too very much.
This was something extraordinary, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because for me, nature is a big inspiration. What do you think about nature and gardening? Is there a difference, or is
Well,
it,
there is a difference, definitely, but there is, I mean, somebody once said to me that if you have a wood and you have a glade or a clearing, that is a clearing in a wood. If you have a circular clearing, that is a garden. So in other words, you need to see the hand of man. But that hand could be very light. It could be a very light touch. And I think that, or somewhere else, I went to a garden in France, for example, where he planted everything and then just let it go, let it do whatever it would, but he mowed paths. So there were the mown paths, but he just let the plants do whatever they wanted.
Wow.
So you have the mixture of a natural and gardening, or it could be very, very ordered, but I think you have to respect nature. That's important.
So from where do you get your inspiration?
From lots of places, from nature, from art, from the experience of doing it. So I will grow something and then I'll say, it doesn't like that, I'll move it, I'll try something else. From looking at other gardens, a lot of looking at other gardens.
How many other gardens have you seen, you think?
Oh, thousands.
Yeah,
Thousands.
it must be.
Yeah, all over the world. I have never kept count, but thousands, yes.
But the first time here in Sweden, is there something that you feel is especially Swedish?
Well, we have a very simplistic view of Sweden and Scandinavia, which is that it's ordered, it's wholesome, it's clean, it's very controlled. So that's maybe what I expected.
Okay.
I'm very delighted to see things a little bit looser, you know.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there some special plants you?
Not Scandinavian. No, I don't
no.
think so. There's nothing. No, there are no plants that I associate with Sweden. Really, maybe there should be.
I'm not sure actually.
No.
I mean, I think we get inspired from everywhere.
Yeah.
But I know that you like to grow things that naturally are, likes to be grown there. For example, vegetables and so on.
Yeah.
Have you any favorite vegetables right now? I mean, it could.
Yeah. Well, at this time of year.
Yeah.
We are growing at home a lot of squashes, so courgettes. Pumpkins and squashes are not quite ripe yet, but they're coming up. We have a lot of French beans.
I love beans.
Yes. We have a lot of lettuce. We have beetroot. We've harvested our garlic. Our potatoes we've all harvested, so they've just come up out of the ground. I love chard. That's not quite this season. That comes a little bit later. We grow in the fruit. We have a lot of raspberries now, blueberries, grapes.
Yeah.
And then our tomatoes are at their very best. So I have a whole greenhouse with nothing but tomatoes in it. So we grow a lot of tomatoes. We harvest our tomatoes by the wheelbarrow load.
Wow.
So we have, what I do is I fill a wheelbarrow and I wheel them into the kitchen. And then we process them.
Okay.
We make sauce.
You have some special tomato sort?
No, we grow different ones. I grow usually 3, 4 or 5. So this year I'm growing, I always grow one called Gardener's Delight.
Oh, that's my favorite too.
Oh, really?
I always grow, I didn't know you were going to.
I grow one called Consoluto Fiorentino. I'm growing one called Rose de Ban this year, which is a very nice one. And I will experiment usually. I mean, I'm just growing those 3 this year, but I'll grow, up to 100 plants
Wow.
in any one year.
Wow.
So we grow a lot of, and I grow a lot of herbs, so very good. So if this is live, is your
One
son? Your
sec.
son could be live.
Well, that's a good sign, isn't it?
Okay,
He's
so-
calling, so he should be.
So if your
We're
son
live
is
again.
calling, is going there, I like that.
Hi, Alex. I need to ask these questions from my children,
Okay.
because they were a little bit shy to ask them themselves. Have you any animals at home?
I have 5 dogs.
5 dogs.
I have
Okay.
5 dogs. I have, we have chickens, and then on the farm we have 1,500 sheep,
Wow.
and we have 50 cattle.
Wow.
So yeah, I have some animals.
You have some animals. Because tomorrow we are going to pick up some. I don't know if it is the same name in English, but it's yellow ducks, gulanka.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I don't think we call them yellow ducks, but certain
No,
type
I
of
think
ducks.
it's.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll pick them up in our car when we
Great.
go back from.
Well, I
from
always
Sweden.
used to keep ducks, but I've
Yeah.
stopped because the fox always got them.
Yeah, I'm.
So to shut them up at night is important.
Yeah, of course we do. And
Yeah.
then I think we have just a few minutes, well, not even that more. I need to look at my question. What was the most important? Is there something else you, about children to
Yeah.
grow? Because of course you love your children to grow more.
Mm.
And do you think it's important that that children starts to grow?
I think it's important to get children interested very young.
Okay.
So as soon as they can,
Yeah.
hold
and
a
how?
seed.
How?
2, 3.
Yeah. Okay. And how to do
And,
it?
Well, just get a little bit with you in the soil, get a seed in,
Yeah.
a sunflower or some beans,
Yeah.
something that will grow tall.
Yes.
Maybe something they can eat, radish or peas or whatever. But then, and get them to cook with you and harvest. But then as they grow up, don't force it. Let it go.
Mm.
Accept that they will stop.
Yeah.
The seed has been sown.
Yeah.
If you sow the seed young,
Yes.
they will come back.
Yes, but yes, of course. And one last question: do you ever get bored?
Yes,
You do.
yes,
Okay.
I do.
Okay, what
I
do you
get
do then?
bored. I tend to get bored at some point in October. I just think, do you know, I've had enough of gardens and gardening.
Yeah.
And for about a week, or even 2 weeks sometimes,
Yeah.
I'd like to go away and not think about gardens. and gardening.
Okay. Okay.
And that's enough.
What
Then
do
I
you do
get-
then?
Well, in real life, I can't do that because I'm still working. I have to do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But I mean, I do. I go and chop wood or something. I go
Shop-
chop wood. on the
okay.
farm. I will go and, or I will saw down trees and chop them up, or I will.
I actually do the same.
Really?
But I thought this was a part of gardening.
Well,
at
yeah, it
least
could be.
I-
But I might. I think that if you're getting bored, it's a sign. You should stop
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and or maybe go and travel or see something else.
Mm.
But it very quickly comes back.
Yeah. You have some advice to me as trying to be self-sufficient, growing food?
Well, self-sufficiency is, I mean, if you're really trying to be self-sufficient, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
I'm.
My advice would be don't.
Okay, why?
Because there are things in life, like coffee, like tea,
That's
like
true.
avocados, like olive oil.
My children will love you after
uh,
this.
And in fact, actually the serious advice is, some friends of mine tried to be totally self-sufficient, and they really struggled. They really struggled.
You can't work here at Sofiero as I do right now, for
Uh,
example.
And then
no.
they went down to 70%.
Okay.
And the other 30% could be whatever they wanted,
Mm.
but they weren't self-sufficient. But they had to be honest about it. And
Okay.
that was fine. That was
That was
really good.
Good enough.
But obviously, I mean, our experience, because we are fairly self-sufficient. We have all our own meat, our own vegetables, our own fruit. You have to learn to store things well. So freeze, bottle,
Yeah.
dry.
I try to choose those veg that are easy to, I mean, like
Yeah.
pumpkins that you
Yeah.
can store
Yeah.
without having a, I mean, like uchikipuri, for example,
Yes.
here in Sweden.
Yes.
So that I think is, I mean, we're not self-sufficient in animals eating,
No.
but in vegetables.
Yes.
So
Well, in vegetables, I think keep sowing lots and lots of small amounts, so you
Yeah.
have succession,
Yeah.
and then store. So
Yeah.
that's, for instance, our tomatoes. We make sauce, and we only eat about 10% of our tomatoes fresh. The rest we store.
Okay.
And the same with basil. We make pesto and we
Yeah.
freeze it and we store it.
Yeah.
Get a tunnel or a greenhouse.
Yeah. I already have, and I also
Yeah.
pick a lot in the nature at our
Yeah.
place. I mean, like hazelnuts and so on. I try to not grow everything myself. I let nature.
You forage.
Is that the name for it?
Yes, that's
Oh,
it.
okay. Okay. I think
Right,
actually we
we have
don't
to-
have so much time left, but we had some great time.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot. I got some really good advice, and I hope you at sorry, switching to Swedish
That's
now.
all right.
Jag hoppas att ni på OdlingsTV här nu också fick en massa råd ifrån Monty Don himself. Och vi kommer att också lägga upp klipp lite senare här, och vi ska se om vi kan texta det på svenska för alla som kanske inte riktigt hängde med på den här engelska delen. Men kolla in OdlingsTV på YouTube, hemsida, alla sociala medier, och så kan ni följa oss där, och vi kommer lägga ut massor av klipp här efter också, inte bara livesändningen alltså, utan massor av klipp här efter som vi har filmat parallellt med den här exklusiva första intervjun vi fick av dig. Tusen tack, då avrundar vi. Thanks a lot, Monty.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.